Hey, I'm Nick Hawks with DePIN State and here with Theo and Thomas from Silencio, all the way from Munich. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you, Nick, for having us here.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
I'm super psyched. Now, you guys are brothers. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
And there's another brother involved in this project?
Exactly. We're actually four brothers, originally from Argentina, but actually spent about 2/3 of our lives in Europe. And we're based here in sunny Munich for the time being. I'm saying sunny as it has been raining for the past 2 months nonstop.
That's Germany. That's what you guys do is bad weather. Okay, well, let's talk about Silencio. So walk me through, for folks who haven't heard of it before, don't know what it is, what is the problem you guys are solving and how are you guys solving it?
So we actually want to solve a problem that affects us all, and it's called noise pollution. And I think everybody can relate to a story or at some point in their lives where they actually suffered through it or are actually actively suffering due to noise pollution. And it starts in us sitting in a restaurant and not being able to, listen to our conversations, although we're like half a meter apart. Other examples are, spending a sleepless night in an hotel or, living next to a busy road where basically you just cannot sleep and you start developing, chronic sleeplessness. And once you start getting into the science of all of it behind it, it's impressive. The amount of awareness that we lack in general with the topic of noise pollution in general.
Yeah. So you guys are solving noise pollution and you guys are doing it right now without hardware. It's just an app on the phone. Is that right?
Exactly. So we entered the DePIN space, and I'm happy to say that we have a name now for it. But about 3 years ago, originally through Helium, I think like a lot of people here. And we're so amazed, by the power of decentralized networks in also doing good for the world and creating, long-term sustainable impact. So once we started understanding that there was a chance to create green data with all of this, like we were completely captivated by it. So we decided to jump full in. We started deploying a lot for different, classical DePIN companies that are out there. I think most people know them. And after about 2.5 years of really seeing a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly, we started understanding some of the limitations that this newly created space was having. And one of those was associated with having, dedicated hardware to participate in these networks. And the problem with that was that people naturally expect an ROI. And when the market doesn't offer it, these networks tend to slow down in terms of growth. And at the same time, we thought that it would actually be amazing to create a combination of both, something that is freely available to the public to participate and where you basically just have to invest your time to create value in a network, that you have as low barriers as possible to entry, and that it is hyper scalable at the same time. So I would say citizen science at its best.
Yeah. So the broad strokes of it is that you put an app on your phone. The app gathers data about the noise levels around you, and if they're too high, that kind of reports it as noise pollution. It seems like the standard DePIN play is that the user will gather data, they get paid in tokens. Are you guys selling that data to scientists or to institutions? Like, how's that side working?
Exactly. So maybe I can go on that one. We're early stage. The product right now, it's an MVP in the market, MVP 2.0, to be honest. We just launched the Android version, I think 2.5 weeks ago. And the data that we're collecting at the moment, we are starting to use in different pilot projects across Europe, and are actually working through our scientific team in validating the integrity of the data. So that's the idea at the moment where we stand.
Also, in terms of the data usage, so people understand a bit deeper what this data will be used for. So people can, super easily access the application. It's very user-friendly, it's free, and we actually did not reinvent the wheel here. We rather looked at noise pollution as a problem in itself. And the head of our scientific team, Hassan Azun, is actually doing his PhD on acoustics in Paris. And we learned that, people have been trying to map out noise pollution since the first Motorola's came along. So this is nothing new. The only problem was that it was always done from a scientific perspective. and let's say extremely unuser friendly, and there was no reward for the user to add value. So naturally, with everything we had learned in the space, we just added 1+1 and made sure that we created an amazing team to tackle this. And this is why, let's say, the scientific integrity of the project is extremely important for us, and that is why we created a extremely strong scientific team that is composed of 3 university professors. 2 of them are at the University of Dublin. They are even advisors to the European Commission on policymaking, and they have together written over 200 research papers on this topic. So like we couldn't have the better support, and this was extremely helpful in order to create a code that would also reflect the best possible dBA measurements in the Apple Store and Google Play Store.
Yeah. Okay, so super cool. On the science side, sounds like you guys have your shit together. That's always good to hear. That's pretty important. Walk me through what you guys are doing right now, as far as, if you can share it, number of users, because that was one of the main reasons to go with just an app and not with hardware. It was way easier to acquire users. So where are you guys on that now?
Definitely. Yeah. So as I said, the Android version just came out 2.5 weeks ago. Currently, we stand, I think, as we record this, close to 10,000 users. We might be 100 users far away from that. So maybe by the end of this interview, we might break that. So that's where we stand in terms of users. And yeah, it's all mobile based, right? So we believe the hyper scalability of it is really exciting.
And it's super exciting to see. We started just last February, and it's amazing to see, when you start seeing all the map being colored up and how fast it actually goes. And
there's 7 billion smartphones out there, right? Yeah. They're all technically possible to join the network. And I think what's really exciting is not only the amount of users, but the retention and how many uploads they're delivering. So right now we have a little over 150 million data points worldwide, just with these amounts of users. So in comparison to other projects in the DePIN space, in order to get that mass coverage, it takes time, right? And it takes a lot of software, and time and hardware. And I think one of the biggest difference with us is that being completely software based, we can iterate really fast and work on it, deploy to the market, and thus continue growing.
So we're really working right now on, listening to our community. We're getting so much valuable feedback that we super appreciate, and that really helps us to be able to bring out an update every single week. And we really want to get this product to a point where it is self-sustainable in itself, in terms of people, coming back to interact with the app, to interact with the data, gather insightful usage from the data. Imagine you're moving to a new place next week, and actually you want to understand the historic data of noise pollution at that apartment, and you could actually already start doing so. Or let's say you want to select a silent restaurant to be able to have a business talk, or work from a coffee place, or even bring your children along. It's a perfect tool to do so. Same as for choosing restaurants. So we're really working towards that having all of that available in the near future.
Got it. All right. So I turn my phone on. Can the app run in the background, or does it have to be at the forefront?
Yeah. So unfortunately, at the moment, as I said, it's an MVP. In the future, we plan that it's capable to run in the background. So as Thomas was saying, the idea is to reduce as much friction as possible. Currently, it's only statical measurements.
And this was also taken with a decision with our scientists in order to guarantee, the best data integrity. And we really want to work into something that is completely seamless. It's supposed to become a bit like Sweatcoin, right? You can forget about it for the next 1 or 2 months, and you're going to be earning passively in the background. And it's our job to make sure that that data integrity is there. So we're going to be doing our best to have that. And the good thing is that one of our scientists, he's actually an assistant professor at NYU in New York, and he has been working on a project that is called Sounds of New York City, SONIC project, and he is the head developer there. And they've been already experimenting with, machine learning and recognizing sound patterns in order to categorize them to understand what the source of the sound is. So it's extremely important to mention also that, privacy of our users is of utmost importance, and we're not recording content whatsoever. So it's just a number, it's just decibels.
And it's just decibels. So you're not recording a conversation or the rest of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a big communication aspect for us, how to make sure that people understand it. It's just a number at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the good thing is once we do start gathering, let's say 20, 30% data coverage in a city, with machine learning, we can do a lot to make sure that we can pinpoint all of that data to a very high precision.
Got it. Now, we talked a little bit about data integrity. I want to make sure I'm understanding this. So let's say the average user, you got kind of two groups of users. You got users who want to actually use the data and they want to contribute, and you got folks who just want to be in it for the token. And that person is just going to have that thing on as they're driving down the road, banging out their Metallica or Aerosmith or Taylor Swift or whatever they listen to. They got the phone on the dashboard, and it would, I'd imagine, be recording an extraordinarily high decibel level. How are you guys controlling for that or removing that from the equation?
So I think there's two parts to that question. So go ahead and I compliment.
I'll start with the manual part. As it is manual right now, so you can only record when you actively have your phone open, means you're supposed to have your phone in your hand. And if you lock it, the measurement will stop right away. And through that, we can guarantee that, you're holding your phone up front, and we're really motivating our community to go out there, walk through your neighborhood. And the airdrop that we're doing is going to be not only based on how much coins you earned, but at the same time, how many hexagons you go out there, cover and discover. So this means measuring for the first time somewhere. And in terms of how we can guarantee what you're saying in the future, once we start passive background measurements, we have different ways to do so. And one of them is putting a speed limit. So let's say if we randomly measure a certain day and time, we're not going to be measuring 24/7. So we might only measure when you actually unlock your phone. So this means for us, you actually have your phone in your hand. It's not in your pocket. It's not anywhere else. And at the same time, we can really make sure that we measure in points of interest and not be continuously measuring in your home, as that doesn't add any value to the network.
Adding on to what Thomas said, the speed limit, right? So right now we don't have it implemented, but that's going to be one of the future updates. As soon as you surpass certain velocity, obviously the measurement is not taken into consideration. What we want, again, is good data. And to the point of having a loud, let's say, a bias recording, that's an excellent point, because you might shout into the mic, let's say, right? And that might diffuse the data. But our idea is to go for trends, and the concept is that the trends prevail, right? You might have positive or negative outliers, but if there's hundreds of measurements taken in a point of interest, the trends prevail, right?
Got it. Yeah. Now, I opened up the app the other day. There's one more thing to talk about before talking about using it, is that you guys have a referral program, right? If someone starts it up and they share it with a buddy, they get some portion of revenue shares. Is it something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, if you invite your friends or family, you make 3% of everything that they make through active recordings. So not through a referral, so to say, but through active recordings. And that has been actually very successful in order of communicating the message. And we're happy to see, that we're having, starting to see also Discord community grow, and having people from all over the world starting to join and add value. And we're surprised by the, level of amazing questions that we've been getting.
Oh, that's a nice setup. Then, what are some of the questions that you're getting that you hadn't thought of that are super helpful for you guys?
I think in terms of usability, the experience that people are having with the application, we've been seeing, I'd say from our relatively small community yet, at least like 10 to 15 very dedicated people bringing up, insightful information every single day in terms of reporting potential improvements, bugs that we are able to pass on to our development team right away. And this was amazing for us, because I think half of that, honestly, you have limited resources as a startup.
You can do as much A/B testing as you want. But one good example on next point is someone figured out that the geolocation positioning was not as accurate as the iOS. And so there's a hardware component here that was obviously a phone that costs $100. It gives you different type of geolocations than an iPhone that is a little bit more expensive. And so those are things that come up in the community. And one of the fascinating points in Web3 is that you actually have all your users in a platform, let's say like Discord, giving you 24/7 feedback. And that's just amazing in comparison to static Web2 companies, where they really have to go out there and, people don't want to get feedback.
Yeah, no, it is a superpower in Web3. Let's do two more questions and we'll wrap it up. Let's see. The big question we get all the time is what chain are you guys on, or what chain are you guys going on? I know you can't answer specifically, but tell me where we are there.
I mean, we're happy to say who we're talking to. Of course, we need to find the chain that best works for us, as we started this on a Web 2 approach. And we did that, let's say, completely on purpose, because we really believe in making sure that we not only find product market fit, but can actually demonstrate to the market that we actually have a sustainable model here before going on chain. And in terms of the community that we're creating, it is the core community, right? These are the believers that really see the potential behind what we're doing. It's a $5 trillion problem on an estimated basis to world GDP. Too big to not to solve. And if it's not us, it's going to be somebody else. So I think the people that understand that are there from the start, and they also understand the chain requirements that we have. So we have been talking so far to Algorand, Idira, and Peak, I think on a more close basis. Polygon as well. And we're very excited to see where, this is going to go. But we actively are making sure that in terms of our necessities, we can guarantee to be able to work together. But at the same time, we want to really make sure we take our time.
We have no rush in that sense. Obviously, at one point you got to go on chain. But the idea here is, as Thomas said, great value first, then go on chain.
Yeah, totally. I have to introduce you guys to the 𝐼oTeX folks, because they might be a good fit for you as well. Let's finish this up with the last question, which is what makes up the perfect user? Like, who's the person that you're like, I really want this kind of user, maybe this type of use?
So the perfect user is probably going to be split into two categories. I'll say that we really believe in the power of Web3, and in order to create green data and do good to the world. And at the end of the day, we understand that a lot of people within this ecosystem also want to see a monetary reward. And this is also the magic of why this actually works. But on one side, actually I have some noise pollution behind me right here. On one side, we have the people that are solving this chicken and the egg situation for us, which is the Web3 community at its heart. And that's the beauty of what we're doing. And in a later stage, we're going to see a broader community coming into the app that is going to be the one that is going to be interacting with this app on so many different levels, understanding their personal health exposure to noise pollution in a daily life, using all the different use cases that we're going to be able to provide within this app. So of course, we are happy to see every single enthusiast that is happy to support DePIN projects worldwide. But even much more, the combination of that with people that start understanding the problem and see the necessity to do something about it.
Right now, the best you can do as a user is go out there, cover as many hexagons as possible from your city, tell your friends, your family. Perhaps you want to cover it together, but doing recordings at home, unfortunately, that's not going to help us. So just be fair with yourself. Think, is this data any interesting? If I recorded the 15th time at home, it's probably commercially not usable for us. So that's the characteristic of a good user, I would say.
Okay, well, I'll turn my app on and go outside and take it for a walk. Theo and Thomas, thanks so much for coming on and telling us about Silencio. Super excited to see where this thing goes. I'll put a link. I'll actually use the referral thing that you guys talked about. We'll see how it does. We'll put that link down in the description. And really excited to have you guys come back on and give us an update on your project next time.
Thanks, Nick, for having us.
It was a blast. Thank you very much.